Are you tired of feeling burnt out all the time or sitting on the edge of burnout? Are you tired of feeling like just as soon as I get through this next busy time, I'll feel better and then something else comes along? As you run your nonprofit, let's face it, we spend most of our days whacking moles, putting out fires, dealing with crisis, just handling the constant drama of the day. And oftentimes it's draining, it's exhausting, and we feel that level of burnout hit us all the time or constantly or comes and goes, but it never stops coming. What we want instead is to have what I call sustainable leadership, where you are able to achieve those results, but in a way that still keeps you balanced and your nonprofit moving forward in a sustainable way. So, today I'm going to talk about what sustainable leadership is, what it isn't, why it's important, and next steps to get there. So, let's start again with what it is. The sustainable leadership is the ability to achieve those results. You've got high standards. There's nothing wrong with having high standards. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get things done. So sustainable leadership means you have those high standards. We're going to do well at accreditation. We are moving through opening up this new program, and we are hitting all the targets that we want. We're keeping shifts full in our programs. We are keeping staff, and they're loyal and they're engaged, and they're actually growing and developing. You've got those results that you want to achieve. And at the same time, you yourself are maintaining some sense of balance. You are feeling that energy, that sense of well-being. And something else that's incredibly important in sustainable leadership is that you are aligning with your values. What often happens when we start to feel that burnout and our energy drain is we give up certain things and we let certain expectations of ourselves go, and we don't put our family first. We don't put our health first. We don't put our staff first. All of those things that we say are important to us, they start to slide. And so if you are following along, what you're realizing is it's both. How do you have both that getting the results and having that wellness? That's what we're going to talk about. So what it isn't. Let me go through this list of all of the things that it isn't, because I think we know this, but it's important to kind of touch on them. It's not accepting that burnout is that normal nonprofit culture. It is, but it's not accepting that. We know that burnout is an epidemic in the nonprofit sector. But when we are looking at sustainable leadership, we go, okay, maybe it is, but that's not okay. And it's time to change that. It's not believing that burnout is a personal failure, that something is somehow wrong with you because you are burning out. Not that. It's not a hustle culture. Just go, 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 go all the time. That's not sustainable leadership. It is not sacrificing your health, your wellness, your family, or your integrity. When you are not sustaining yourself, when you are not leading well, when you're falling apart, burning out, you are sacrificing yourself, your family, your wellness, and your integrity. And that's not okay. All right. What it is not also is pushing through that exhaustion to the level of burnout. And we've all been there. And you think about it, how many people do you know get through a really big thing that they're going through, and a really busy season time in their nonprofit, and then they fall apart. They push through that exhaustion, but to the point of burning out at the end. So that is not what sustainable leadership is. Again, it's learning to achieve those results and taking care of yourself, having that sense of wellness and balance, but also aligning with your values. So why is that important? Just a sec. I think you know why it's important, but sometimes it's hard to get there. But let's cover why it's important. Again, burnout in the nonprofit sector is a systemic issue. It's not you. It's the way that we have set things up for years and years and years and years. And it's time to change that. And so if we're going to start to change that, we have to start talking about it, and we have to start creating a plan for change. How are we going to get out of this constant, just, like I say, I call it whack-a-moles. One thing pops up, a meeting or an email or a crisis, and you just deal with it, and you spend your day just running from here to here, and like you're going nuts. And all day long, your energy is draining. if you want to have that sustainable leadership, what I want for you, I believe that every leader should have the opportunity to go to work at a job she loves and feels validated, respected, supported, and gets to use her gifts, strengths, and talents, and still comes home at the end of the day with energy left for the rest of her life. That's what sustainable leadership is to me. And so we need to figure out how to get there. When you lead that way, you are a better leader. And by better leader, I mean you're better at making decisions. You're more composed and you're able to handle some of those tough conversations and situations with your emotions in check, not shutting them off. That's a whole nother conversation, but managing your emotions. You are better able to focus, instead of being distracted and unable to kind of get into the deep work that you need to get into. You're just all over the place. You're a better role model for people when you're doing this. Again, if we want to create this change in the nonprofit sector, somebody has to set that line. Somebody has to say, this is the new way of doing it. My purpose for the work that I do, the reason I do this and the reason why I'm so committed to the nonprofit sector is I want to change the face of leadership for my granddaughter's generation of leaders. I have 5 granddaughters. And if any of them become leaders in the nonprofit sector, I do not want them to go through what you and I have been going through. I want to start creating those ripples of change now so that we can have sustainable leadership. And so, again, why is it important? You're a better leader, better decision-making, better able to focus, better composure, better role model, and better responsiveness to people. You are better able to put stuff away and actually turn and build those relationships with the people and support your leaders like we need to, your employees like we need to do. We need to be growing them. And you can't build those relationships when you're on the edge of burnout. Okay. So what is it? Balancing both impact and results with wellness and balance and aligning with your values. That's what it is. It's not that burning out. It's not that, pushing through until you're falling apart. It is maintaining that balance. How do you get there? First, I want you to know that it is possible. I work with leaders all the time who do this work. It's called the inner work. Who do this work and figure out how to set some boundaries, take some breaks, learn to take better care of themselves, and feel better as a leader as a result, have more impact as a result. Start to really do this work to find that they're able to lead their organization in a way that's more sustainable for them, but also supports the organization's growth. I work with leaders all the time who do this work. It is possible. Does it take time? Yes. Is it require a little bit of work? On your part? Yes. Is it worth it? 100 billion% it's worth it. I could give you lists of clients that I've worked with who have said this. The change is so dramatic. Actually, if you grab my book, Character-Driven Leadership, you'll hear some of the stories in there. Let's see if I can pop this up. I'm new to this. Banners. No, this one. Is that it? Yeah, there we go. Character-Driven Leadership. And I think I can put the banner up too. If you want to grab the first chapter of Character-Driven Leadership, you can get it at kathyarcher.com/character-driven leadership. But if you just go to the homepage, you'll find the link to get the book there as well. But in the book, there are lots and lots of stories about, now let's see if I can get rid of this. New to StreamYard, new to streaming live, getting there. So stories. Okay. So where do we start? Pause. You need to stop. You need to, again, we're whacking moles. We're running from meeting to email to running the kids to practice. And then we're, getting supper on the table and back on email at the end of the day. You need to stop. You need to step back and need to ask yourself, how am I really doing? Like, really, how am I doing? And sometimes when you stop and let everything catch up, sometimes it can be quite emotional because you realize I'm not doing so well. And it's time to step back and go, what am I going to do? One of the first things that I encourage all my students to do, so I have a membership called the Training Library. As I'm talking about some of this stuff now, I'm going to mention some of the courses. So if you're in my membership, I'm speaking directly to you. If you're not in my membership, oh goodness, let's try this again. You can join the membership right there. In the membership, I have a course called Values Verification. And it is the first thing that I always recommend people start with. When we want to be values driven leaders, when we want to lead with integrity, when we want to have that sense of balance, we have to align with our values. The problem is most of us have never done the work to voice our values. They're kind of these things in the back of our head, like, I value family, I value wellness. Okay, then how come you're falling apart and you've neglected your family? Obviously, you are not aligning with your values. So, starting to identify what that value means to you. Honesty to you may be different than honesty to me. I cannot walk out of a grocery store with something under the cart. Maybe that's not such a big deal to you. Maybe white lies are okay to you, and that's fine. It's just identifying that. What does that mean? What does compassion mean? What does fairness mean? What does if you have a value of family, what does that mean? When you identify those values and you start to look at, then how do I use those values in my decision making? Those values become a decision filter. So in my case, when I was in leadership, I would need to travel. And so I can say to myself, if I travel, it means I'm missing this kid's. I've have 4 kids, all grown now. This kid's, sports event. Okay, is that okay to me? Like, in my value system, is it okay to miss a basketball game? Yeah, one game is not the end of the world. Now, maybe they are at the edge of provincial champs. Do I want to miss that game? Maybe not. Um, and on the flip side, I might value teamwork. And so if this travel requires me to support my team and I'm there for giving a presentation or something, then I can go, okay, teamwork and kids. Ooh, the thing with values is most often they're both important. But when you can slow down and pause and ponder and step back and go, okay, now in this moment, which one is a little bit higher? They're both important, sometimes equally important. But if we can let ourselves identify our values, but ask, because there's probably plural coming into this, then that will help our decision making to move forward. Helps us manage our energy. We have to stop just managing time, but also look at how much do I have left in the tank. So if you're going into a meeting and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you're like, whoa, I am done for the day and I've got a big meeting. When we're managing our energy, we can look at, okay, what do I need to do to boost up a little bit of energy before I go into that meeting? Maybe it's grabbing a handful of nuts, going for a walk. Maybe it's that, actually, you know what? I honestly don't have it in me and I'm going to delegate that meeting to somebody else. But when you're managing your energy instead of time, you're looking at those things rather than just, I got a meeting, I got to go. And when you see the meeting in your schedule and you think that you have to go, you're not feeling like you have a choice. When you pause and step back and look through the lens of your values, you're better able to make a decision. So pause, ask yourself, how am I really? Identify your values, manage your energy, lead with your strengths. You've heard the term strength-based leadership, strength-based teams thrown around, but are you actually leading with your strengths? Because do you actually know your strengths? The Gallup Strengths Finder with my clients, or the VIA Character Strengths, or both. And I really help people look at what are your strengths and how do you use them. There's a ton of things we need to do in leadership. And there are a ton of things that we shouldn't be doing, that we should be delegating or getting help for, or letting somebody who has an interest or a skill in that area do. We have to look at the work, and not just like a job description, but really look at, where do my strengths lie and how do I learn or lead best. I was talking with somebody the other day, and the expectation is when you're in a meeting, you come up with these ideas and you throw out these ideas. And if you're not, somebody thinks that maybe don't have any good ideas. And she said, I need to think on those things. I need to go back and do some deliberation and ponder a little bit. And then the ideas come to me and I can formulate them better. And that's how I can get them out. That's a strength. And she's seen that as a weakness. And when I flipped it around for her and said, you know what, we actually need leaders who do some good thinking before they open their mouth. And she's like, oh my goodness. And so we have to start shifting that and strengthening what we see in ourselves as our strengths, and then speaking and leading from those strengths to be able to have the courage to say, you know what, I don't have an answer right now. I'm going to think about it and I'm going to come back. Now, we don't want to be wishy-washy and never come back, or come back and him and ha. We want to be decisive, but sometimes our strength is to think about it. So that might be a strength. So lead with your strengths. Ultimately, what you need to do to lead in a sustainable way is you need to create systems and goals and plans and boundaries, all of those things that sometimes we don't have the courage to do, but that are really going to give you the sustenance. We're talking about sustainable leadership means we need to pour back into the cup. We need to fill you up sometimes instead of drain and pull and tug and take everything away so you're nothing left but a wet noodle. We need to pour back in. And that is stepping back with those boundaries, and making those decisions about those boundaries from your values, from a very authentic, paused place where you're able to think clearly and go, no, you know what? I'm not hopping back online after the kids go to bed tonight. I am, taking care of myself. I'm going to get a good night's sleep, and I will be better able to focus in the morning when I do that. It's about being able to take those micro moments of breaks. In the training library, I talk about uh, I teach a whole course called Wellness at Work. We need to stop thinking that wellness is something that happens after work, and we need to start filling up our tank throughout our workday. What sustains us. Eating. People skip lunch and breakfast and snacks all day long. We're not eating well. We need to take physical breaks, and we need to move our bodies and give ourselves a bit of energy. We need to take mental and emotional breaks where we just step back from it all and I talk about it as the snow globe kind of settles. There's just so much going on. We need to step back. If you really want to learn to lead in that sustainable way where you're balancing impact and your wellness and aligning with your values, you have to do the work to sustain yourself, to fill yourself back up. If you need help with that, message me, send me a note, grab the book, Character Driven Leadership, join the training library, or just do the work on your own. Just step back and say, what's really going on? What is it that I actually need? How am I going to do that? When am I going to do that? Who do I need to ask for help to do that? You know ultimately what you need to do. It's around, not working yourself to the bone. It's around taking breaks before you're drained. It's around speaking, having the courage to speak those boundaries. You know this stuff. It's just hard. And until you step back and say, okay, I'm done leading that way, the change isn't going to happen. But when you do, when you step back and say, I'm not doing this anymore, it becomes that point where you start to climb out of this chaotic burnout place, and you start to, again, set some boundaries, start to feel a little bit better. It's a journey, but a journey worth being on for yourself, for your family and the people you love, for your team. They will so much more appreciate you when you have energy and focus. But also, again, for the next generation of leaders, we need to start role modeling this today. And if we can start role modeling that, we'll start to create those ripples of change so that the next generation of leaders and the next after that aren't living in this burnout culture that the nonprofit sector has embraced. It is time to ditch that and turn things around. Again, if you need help, reach out. And in the meantime, go make the rest of your day awesome.